Federal government increases electricity tariff for Band A customers. We find what this means and who is affected by this increment. Do not mistake my humility for stupidity. Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State blows hot, cautions politicians bent on provoking him and the polity. Hello and welcome to Politics Today, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga, sitting in for Shenwo Kimbaloye. Let me begin by telling you that a lot happened in the politics today, and we'll bring you some of the highlights of today's activities. But our major focus of conversation will be that hike in electricity tariff by the federal government and what it means for the customers, especially the Band A customers. And then we'll also talk about the decision by the APC elders group in Ondo State, known as the Aborigines, who have now endorsed Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa for the November poll, a choice that has rattled other contenders. But first, some great news for students, as President Bola Tinubu today signed into law the student loans. It's known as the Access to Higher Education Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024, long name, popularly known as the Students' Loan Bill. The president signed the bill in a short ceremony at the State House in the presence of the president and deputy president of the Senate, the chief of staff to the president, the minister of state for education, the minister of state for youth, the president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, and other government officials and aides of the president. The president commends the members of the National Assembly for passing the bill promptly, emphasizing that education is the tool to fight against poverty effectively.
We are determined to ensure education is given the proper attention necessary for the country, including skill development programs. This is to ensure that no one, no matter how poor their background is excluded from quality education and opportunity to build their future. We are here because we are all educated and we are helped. In the past, you've seen a lot of our children drop out of colleges and given up the opportunity. That is no more. The standard and the control is there for you to apply, no matter who you are, as long as you are a Nigerian citizen.
Well, that's the latest from the presidency. So there were a couple of challenges with the first bill that was presented, and it covered issues about separating management from the governance structure in terms of the structure of that particular, the management of the student loan, as well as issues of repayment was also a concern. Accessing the loan itself, there were a couple of gray areas that would have caused some challenges in the implementation of that particular loan scheme, which is why they had to repeal and reenact it. And those changes have now been effected. And we hope that with this, students will begin to access this as soon as possible. We don't know what the timelines are, but as soon as we get those details, of course, you'll get to know right here on the show. But let's move on now to the intriguing politics of Rivers State. And the latest is that the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has warned that he will surprise those who consider his honest decision to implement the Presidential Peace Pact as a sign of weakness. It says his silence over the controversial issue is a display of maturity and wisdom. Governor Fubara explained his position while addressing members of the National Union of Local Government Employees who were on a solidarity visit at the government house in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital.
Let me say it here for record purposes. What is happening here in our dear state is somebody who have respect for an elder. Mr. President invited all the parties to Abuja and came out with a resolution that we should go and implement. That resolution, I'm implementing it. It's not a constitutional implementation. It's a political solution to a problem. And I'm doing it because of the respect I have for Mr. President. But let me say it here. If that action that I've accepted to follow will be taken for my weakness, I will surprise them. I want this message to go to them. And I believe you know what I mean.
There are very few times you hear Governor Siminala Ifobara speak frankly and straight like this. So that means all is not well. And is daring anybody who wants to dare him to hold off or just back off, else he's going to do something that no one expects. That's the inference we're seeing from that particular statement by the governor of Rivers State. There's even a song that says, "Day your day, make I day my day." For our international audience, it means maintain your peace so that there will be peace for everyone. Perhaps that's what the governor is saying. So the intriguing politics of Rivers State is ever evolving. It's like an onion. Now we'll keep our eyes there, whatever happens from here, because we understand that the State Assembly has said, look, you have to follow through everything that was agreed, that 8-point resolution that became a controversial resolution, one of which is that he has to represent the 800 billion naira budget he had presented to a House of 4 before this House. And that has been a big issue. And they've said it's not following through with the agreement. If it doesn't follow through, they will restart that process they started before. That's the impeachment process. And which is why he's saying, my quiet, don't take it for granted. Well, just inferring all that's been happening in Rivers politics. But that's not all we've been tracking. There's a lot more on this program that we'll bring to you before we get into our conversations. Two of them. One has to do with the electricity tariff, the hike. The people in charge will explain what all of that means, as well as the selection by the Aborigines in Ondo states, saying that they've endorsed Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa to run for governorship in November governorship elections. So those are the things we'll be talking about today on the program. But first, let's bring you our political roundup stories.
The 7-man panel set up to investigate allegations of misconduct against the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, has commenced sitting in Benin. The commencement of the sitting follows the resolution by the State House of Assembly to initiate impeachment processes against Shaibu. Present at the panel's inaugural sitting today are representatives of the State House of Assembly, Deputy Clerk Legal Joe Ohiafi, while Mr. Shaibu was represented by his counsel, Professor Oladoyin Awoyale, SAN. Rivers State Governor Siminala Ifobara has warned that he will surprise those who consider his honest decision to implement the Presidential Peace Pact as a sign of weakness. He explains that his silence over the controversy that the implementation of the peace agreement has generated was not because he is weak, but out of maturity and wisdom. Governor Ifobara spoke while addressing members of the National Union of Local Government Employees, NOLGE, who were on a solidarity visit to the Government House in Port Harcourt. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma has asked the people of the Southeast to support the Bola Tinubu-led administration, saying the federal government under President Tinubu means well for the people of the Southeast and all Nigerians. The governor was speaking at the Southeast Stakeholders Meeting in Owerri, the Imo State capital, which had the Deputy Governor of Ebonyi State, APC Deputy National Chairman South, federal and state lawmakers, federal ministers, APC State Chairman, among others, in attendance. He also reiterates the need to reconcile aggrieved members of the party in the zone.
If you check each time, we'll have more number of governors from a national ruling political party. Developments are usually rapid. But each time, we'll go through the idiosyncrasy of Nzobu, that we can do it alone. We face a retardation.
Kogi State Governor Mr. Ahmed Ododo has launched a security initiative aimed at taming the upsurge in emerging criminal activities across the state, and particularly local state capital. In a statement by the on media to the governor, Mr. Ismaila Isa, The operation, codenamed Metropolitan Quick Response, is in partnership with the Rapid Response Squad of the Nigeria Police and the Joint Task Force of security agencies in the state. Governor Ododo urges the citizens of the state to be proactive, remain vigilant, and provide credible information to security agencies in the state.
Now, we got news just not so long ago in the earlier hours of today that the federal government has increased the tariff rate, so 225 naira per kilowatt per unit, applicable to people in Band A. That's the customers in Band A. Band A customers are those that are serviced, according to the details, 10 to 20 hours a day of power. This new rate takes effect from today and is 3 times more than the existing rate. For customers' identification, the Commission has mandated the DISCOs to put a name on the feeders. DISCOs have been mandated to set up rapid response team in locations where those feeders affected by the rate review are located. This will help in the performance monitoring. So that's the conversation we'll have today. Now, as a matter of fact, the truth is that when I saw this particular report, I had to check my prepaid and be sure of what category. So if you're like me and a lot of Nigerians who are not sure what this means and who it affects, you don't know whether you're in Band A, Band B, and all of the bands that are described by the regulators. So that's why we have the expert to talk to us. We're being joined in the program from Abuja studios by the Commissioner and Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Dr. Misliu Oseni. Dr. Oseni, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dr. Oseni, the place and the best place, in my view, to start from are basic explainers for the benefit of everyone. And we know that there are service-based tariff, which is seen as a scheme classifying different people into different bands. So maybe let's begin by explaining what these bands are, because they say this particular increment affects only Band A. So before we get to this Band A, let's know which category we all belong to, and then we can now talk about the Band A and build it from there.
Okay, good evening, everyone, my fellow Nigerians. The service-based tariff was introduced in 2020, in September 2020 precisely. And the idea behind the service-based tariff was to ensure that people that enjoyed better hours of more hours of supply, that have a better quality of supply, pay higher tariff than those customers that enjoy less hours of supply. Basically, we have 5 tariff bands. We have the lowest band, which is classified as Band E, that is 4 hours of supply and below. We have the Band D, which is 8 hours and below. We have Band C, which is 12 hours of supply and below. We have Band B, which is 16 hours and below. And we have, then we have Band A, which is, I missed the top. Band A is 20 hours and above, Band B, 16 hours and above. Then we have Band C, which is 12 hours up to like a minimum of 12 hours. So we have Band D, which is a minimum of 8 hours, and we have Band E, which is a minimum of 4 hours. The whole idea is to ensure that the distribution companies improve in the delivery of service to customers, and at the same time to ensure that customers that enjoy better hours of supply pay more for electricity. If you are Band A having a minimum of 20 hours, you pay higher tariff, compared to Band B having a minimum hours of supply of 16 hours. Then Band C having a minimum hours of supply of 12 hours. Then Band D having a minimum hours of 8 hours. So that is the idea behind that classification.
We know which band we belong to, because a lot of people are wondering, if it's by hours, some have not had lights for weeks. Are we in Band no alphabet? Or just, so how can people know? Because we're going to get back to this issue of Band A increment and why it was increased, but we need to get this basic housekeeping. If somebody picks up their prepaid or postpaid meter and looks at, how do you know which band you belong to without necessarily looking at the number of hours? Because if we want to depend on the number of hours, we may be confused given the abysmal level of power supply we have.
Okay, for the prepaid metered customers, when you vent and you look at your receipts, you will see that the discos have been mandated to indicate the class band. If you are in band A, you will see that A is clearly written on the vendor receipt. Then if you are an unmetered customer, that is, you are getting bills every month, or probably you are a postpaid metered customer, you will also realize that in your bill, discos have been mandated to put the class band in there, indicating the class band you are in. But with respect to the review of tariff today, I think I need to emphasize that the approval granted to the distribution licenses by the Commission is only applicable to Band A customers. And I think I also need to provide an explanation because when we started the service-based tariff and up until last month, if you check the orders released by the Commission, the discos, the total number of feeders that the discos have as Band A feeders is over 1,000. Of course, there are 3,067 feeders in total, and over 1,000 of them, about 1,100 were categorized as Band A. But in the process leading to this approval, we forced the DISCO to reduce the number of bands based on number of feeders in Band A based on the empirical evidence. First and foremost, when they proposed 874 feeders, as in moving from that 1,100 they initially had. Then, upon the review by the Commission, by looking at empirical data of how many feeders actually got the number of hours that can be classified or recognized as Band A, which is minimum of 20 hours, we reduced the number of feeders down to 481. So out of 3,000 feeders and initial 1,100 feeders, only 481 feeders will be affected by this rate review. And the customers constitute just about 15% of the total customer population. I think I can stop here.
Okay, 15% is in clear numbers is how many? How many hundreds of thousands or millions? What's 15% by the statistic?
Okay, currently we have over 12 million customers in NESI, and 15% of that is, I think, if it is 10%, for instance, that is 1.2 million. So plus 600,
so slightly
that's
above,
about 1.
Slightly below
roughly 2 million customers will be affected out of 12 million total customers we have in NESI.
We understand that this increment is 4 times or so, even if it's for, some people say it's big man, big trouble, as it is. But what informed the increment?
Okay. First and foremost, the Act, if you look at the section 116, subsection 2A of the Electricity Act, it mandates the Commission to ensure that the licenses operating efficiently are allowed to recover sufficient revenue for the capital invested and for the operational costs, as well as having a return on the investment they have made. And in that case, it means that the onus is on the Commission to ensure that the operators actually hand sufficient revenue that we incentivize further investment in NESI in order to ensure that improvement in service delivery occurs. So what informed the decision actually, apart from the provision of the Act, is in the sense that if you look at December 2023, there was an improvement in the quality of service down to January, but from January up to date, there was a dip in generation availability. What caused that was because of lack of review of tariff, the discos cannot be mandated to pay for what they have not been allowed to charge. And in that case, the payment to generation companies has significantly dipped, which affects their ability to maintain their machine and also to pay for gas. And if they're not able to pay for gas, definitely there won't be, because gas is one of the two significant raw materials for the generation of electricity in Nigeria. As of today, we have about 20 to 25% of energy mix in Nigeria coming from hydro. Then we have about 75% coming from gas. And if the generation companies are not able to pay for gas, definitely they won't be able to generate, not minding the fact that they also need money to maintain their machines. So we are at the point where it's clearly that if nothing is done to ensure that tariff is reviewed so that the market can be relatively liquid, we're at the verge of having further significant deterioration in the quality of supply in the country.
All right, Dr.
Apart from that, I think it's important to also emphasize the fact that up until today, the tariffs payable by all customers are actually based on the tariff determined as of December 2022. And as at then, the tariff was also not reflective of the cost because there was still some subsidy element in there.
All right,
But when you now look at the macroeconomics from 2022 up to date, I think you will say that the unification of exchange rates has actually impacted the cost of gas. And
all right, Dr. Seni, if I may butt in.
A few days ago, okay.
If I may butt in, just so that we're running out of time, so I can get as much questions from Nigerians to you as possible. I don't think Nigerians have a problem paying for their bills. For what you're saying for Band A now, my calculations is, my math is right. If somebody, permit me to use the word, recharges for 25,000, you're getting barely slightly over 100 units into your prepaid and all of that. So you have talked about cost reflective, that they are not getting the money they expended in terms of the investment they need to recoup and all of that. But we're all in the same market where subsidy has been removed. All of this brutal economic policy by the federal government, which is seen as necessary but painful, has been affecting everyone. Is this the right time to be thinking of increasing tariff? That's on one hand, given the fact that we can't even see power in the first place. Last year, the grid collapsed 13 times. This year, it has recorded 2.
Okay, thank you so much. I think there is a need for us to look at, you mentioned the grid collapse last year, but it's important to also understand some of the factors that contributed to grid collapse, which was experienced last year, as well as the recent one. One of the key factors that have been identified as responsible for grid collapse in recent times has to do with one, decrease in gas supply because of non-payments. And of course, also we have some issues around the maintenance of the generation, around the generating plants. So if you combine the two together, you will realize that revenue or liquidity plays a significant role in ensuring that we have improvement in the quality of supply. And you also mentioned that people are not getting the service. And I think I just explained to you that when we started, or as at, let's say 2 days ago, the number of feeders classified as Band A feeders were around 1,100. As we speak, based on the order approved by the Commission, only 481 met the list. The reason is that the Commission has evaluated the service delivery and is confident that based on the existing infrastructure, without having to make additional investment, DISCO can deliver confidently minimum of 20 hours to these customers on these 481 feeders. And a lot of monitoring and evaluation processes have also been put in place to ensure that the discos actually deliver, and there is a strong enforcement mechanism that has been put in place in the event of service failure. So, when you said economic, looking at the economic situation, is this the right time? But one thing you need to realize is that when people don't have service, they use alternative supply. For instance, people are supposedly getting 20 hours of supply. We have to use alternative source of supply for just a maximum of 4 hours. People getting supply for less, we use the alternative source of supply for more hours. So we need to now realize that if you have a diesel generator today and you have to turn it on, buy a liter of diesel for around 1,600, you can only have a maximum of 3 kilowatt hour per liter of diesel. So if you do the mathematics, already you have about 500, 550 naira per kilowatt hour. And it doesn't end there. You've not had the amortized cost of the generator, that is the amortization of the initial capital outlay. Then you've not also had the cost of maintenance. So I think it would be better for customers that are going to be affected by this increase to get higher quality of supply and don't have to spend more on generator. Unlike when they get like 10 hours of supply at 16 naira, by the time you now look at the cost of the generating self-generation is much higher. The same thing if you are a petrol-fueled
if I may
generator owner. Yep.
If I may button, so that I can, as I said, to get more questions out there. So with the Band A customers who are supposed to get power for minimum of 20 hours a day, is this like a precursor for every other category of people? Like you're using Band A to test what the market looks like and the response, and then eventually are we going to see increment in Band B, C, D, E in the next few days or in the next few months? What should Nigerians be expecting?
Okay, thank you so much. If you have time to look at the order we just released, there is a provision in the order that has mandated the discos to ensure that other customers that won't be getting 20 hours of supply are continuously migrated to higher band. And that is based on another order of the commission also, which we call the order on performance of the distribution companies. So in that order, there are clearly targets. So one of the targets that is already being put there is migration of customers to a higher band, which will be a target, a KPI for the management of the distribution companies. And they've been told that now, previously, we operated the Reform Act, which had little enforcement provision. Because in the previous act, we only could enforce up to a maximum of 10,000 naira per day for an offense contravening the license, terms and conditions of the license, and a maximum of just 10,000 for an offense for the contravention of the regulation of the commission. But in the new Electricity Act, there is a provision including complete intervention in a disco that is not performing as expected. So the CEOs of the distribution company have been told that this is the time for them to either sit up or you get out. If you can't withstand the heat, you leave the kitchen. And the commission is committed to doing that.
Well, lots of questions Nigerians will want to ask NEC and everyone involved, including the discos. But the luxury of time is what we do not have. But we must thank you. But the most important thing that Nigerians, in our view, have to say to everyone who provides electricity, get it fixed. Let the grid stop collapsing. If you provide power for Nigerians, I think Nigerians are resilient and hardworking enough to pay their bills. And everybody can comfortably migrate as much as they want. But when they don't see power and you expect them to pay, no matter the justification you provide, it's quite difficult to convince people. So there has to be loads of communication, which is why we brought you to bring this explainer to the people. We must thank you, Dr. Misliu Oseni, Commissioner Vice Chairman, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. Thank you for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And then from the issue of electricity tariff, we get to coal politics, and we head to Ondo State. The Aborigines, they call themselves, they are elders within the APC. They did a selection process, throwing it down to 3 candidates who they want to, stand for the primaries and be the candidate of the party on April the 20th. Eventually, it came down to the incumbent governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa. Other contenders are not happy about it, and they will join us for that conversation. Join us again.
It's like every other year, my wife wants to paint, and our own kind of budget just makes me want to faint. 50 buckets of paint? Make it make sense. I'm only dropping cheddar if it's using Santex.
Santex? Yes, Santex. The amazing durability is more than mere text. Rich quality paint within your budget. So make the smart choice. Paint with Santex. Can't go wrong. With the smart choice. Santex paint. Smart choice.
Paint your dreams on the walls of your reality. Choose Santex paints for its rich quality, vibrant colors, and long-lasting coats. Available at authorized Santex paint distributors across Nigeria. Santex paint, the smart choice.
I actually came to pay the money for the recruitment consultancy you did for my company. I took $2 million.
Just hold on. I now collect dollars.
What?
Yes. I don't understand what's happening to Naira these days. So it's going to be 2 million times today's exchange rate.
Doctor, wait. Don't tell me you are one of those people who directly put pressure on the Naira and make it lose its value. You want to dollarize our economy, and yet you pretend as if you don't know what is happening to the Naira. I've told you about how you abuse the Naira by spraying and stamping on it during your occasions. You deface and abuse the Naira as if it's not our national asset.
Chief, take it easy.
How? I will not take it easy. And neither will the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Task Force on Currency Abuse and Forex Malpractice. Take it easy with you. They are coming for you. Desist from economic sabotage, or you will face the wrath of the law.
Before entering to the university, ask myself one question. What does education mean to me?
Education is a tool to shape my future, fostering critical thinking and problem-solving skills.
University City Campus, Maitama Abuja, is now open. Visit www.philomath.edu.ng to get started.
The Duchess International Hospital caters to every aspect of the family's health needs. A one-stop shop for maternity and child health services, emergency medicine and critical care, medical and surgical subspecialties, dental and eye care, and a range of other subspecialties and services, all available at a single location right here in the heart of Ikeja. And it really doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket using your HMO or private insurance. We focus completely on providing that world-class affordable healthcare for all the family at all times.
But we want it tasty and easy too. Knorr cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic. And enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
Welcome back. It's now time to talk Ondo politics. November 16th is the date for the governorship election in that state, and all parties are gearing up for their primaries to pick a flag bearer, a standard bearer, someone who will represent the party at the polls. And the APC has been doing some basic housekeeping to see how to prune down the number to eventually pick a candidate who will represent the party at the governorship election. They are the ones in power in Ondo State, Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa. But the group, the Ondo APC Elders Council, or group rather, excuse me, known as the Aborigines, they made a decision a few days ago. And that decision has not gone well with other contenders. And that's what we're talking about today. They endorsed and picked the governor, Lucky Aiyedatiwa. And that's why this conversation is quite important to see and hear from all sides. We're being joined in the program by a legal practitioner and elder statesman who is one of those who is not quite comfortable with that decision. Dr. Benson Enikome joins me right here in our Lagos studios. Thank you for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure being here. Good evening.
I'm also being joined via Zoom by a member of the Ondo APC Elders Group, the Aborigines, via Zoom, Mr. Bola Ilori. Mr. Ilori, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, sir.
We needed to have all sides so that we have a balanced conversation within the time we have. So we're going to be as quick as possible, but get to the meat of the issue. The Aborigines met and it came down to 3 candidates. Eventually, the governor was picked and endorsed to represent the party during the primaries and all of that. So let's find out how the Aborigines came to decide on the choice of Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa over other contenders, about 10 of them, which were pruned down to 3. One passed, God rest his soul.
We as Aborigine, so to say, the people, members that were there when the party was being formed, we came together to look at the fortune of the party. And we look beyond the issue of maybe just personal interests of individual aspirants. So we set up criteria, we set up a committee to be able to assess the people that are on the field. We need to narrow down the field for people. And what we are doing, basically, we are a pressure group within the party. Everybody is also allowed to come up with their own kind of assessment. And it now boils down on the credibility of those who are assessing and the way party members decide to view what we have done. Why there will be some uproar is because of the weight of people who are there. Otherwise, it would not have been an issue. Several people had been endorsing people. It never generated any heat. But they know that these are key stakeholders of the party. And what we did was to set up criteria. We looked at the educational background of the aspirant, because that can affect the party. We looked at possible financial capacity of the candidate. We look at ability to win election, particularly popularity. That becomes very important, because at the end of the day, whatever we are doing, we must be conscious of the fact that the general election is not only about our party. People will still weigh in, so we look at it. We look at the integrity. We look at contribution towards the party over time, in coming to the conclusion that we came up with. And all of this happened to throw up the sitting governor as the easiest route to our victory in the general election. So that we were concerned about being able to win the general election, and that was very, very important for us.
Apparently, the camp of Wale Akinteriwa and Olushola Oke are not comfortable, which is why the good lawyer is here. So he stated a few things I would like you to respond to. Based on them, and educational background, financial, maybe war chest, popularity, integrity, contribution to the party. Isn't this a fair assessment on how to pick a candidate for a party to represent them at an election?
First and foremost, you can only give what you have. If you don't have the authority to do any action taken by you, you will proceed in error. The point is this: In APC constitution, as a party, where is the position of the Aborigines? Is Aborigine named as one of the organs of the party that can decide? That we must establish. And my answer is simple. There is no provision for those who are Aborigines in the party. Now, APC came into fruition in 2013, 2014 or thereabout, when the election that was held, that brought in President Buhari, was to come on board. Who were the parties that came on board for that purpose? 4 political parties were involved, namely ACN of the days of gone by. Then we have CPC. Then a faction of PDP, and then also a faction of APGA.
Also ANPP.
Yes, ANPP, yes, ANPP. Now, these were the parties that fused to form APC. Now, how do you determine Aborigine? Aborigine starts from the time APC was established. Those who have become members of it. You cannot be referring to AD that was not party to that particular decision, because AD was not in contemplation as at the time APC was formed. Some of the names that here said they were members of AD. Therefore, no power conferred on them. But let's go straight to the issues raised, that they look at education qualification. And that takes me a little bit backward. Among these individuals who are contesting, can you deny the qualification of Dr. Jimoh Ibrahim, Senator Jimoh Ibrahim? Jimoh Ibrahim holds a PhD, and do you say he is not qualified? Chief Olushola Oke has LLM and is a senior advocate of Nigeria. So how do you now extrapolate, come to being, to putting together that these individuals are not qualified educational-wise? The governor has the basic education to contest for this particular position. But again, I didn't raise the issue. Issues are being raised. And then you now begin to look at these individuals. I've mentioned their names, the Akin Folarin, the Akin Terenwa. No issues raised about their certificate. And so, if you live in a glass house, don't throw stone.
But he had mentioned like 5 categories.
Yeah,
so
I am picking.
Because time, we need to be quick.
Picking them one by one.
Popularity, integrity, contribution. So let's hit it quickly. So I can
Number
get back
2,
to him.
finance. Chief Olushola Oke has been going about campaigns in all the 18 local governments. In fact, he finances his program. Who sponsors him? Ditto for Dr. Jimoh Ibrahim. All other persons have been financing. Therefore, have they called these individuals to look at their accounts to say, oh, how much do you have in your account, to be able to determine it? If there's any money that stands to the credit of the incumbent, it must be government money.
Let me go back to Mr. Lori. Just a minute. Let me go back to Mr. Lori. Mr. Lori, let me bring you back to some things he has raised, because you mentioned something in passing. I would like him to respond later on, which is you're not the first to endorse anyone. Why is your own endorsement causing this uproar at the end of the day? So how did you come to decide on the governor? Did you invite this candidate? Did you ask them to present like a resume? What exactly did you do? And did they say did they agree that they will agree to whatever is the outcome of your screening exercise, so that we are on the same page?
Let me respond to my very good friend Eniku. What he's saying, what we are playing is politics. Don't forget that that becomes imperative. We have people listening to us, and we are clear about the fact that people needed guidance, and we provided guidance. That's what we have done. On whether there is a constitutional provision backing Aborigine, He spoke out of ignorance, and I will not blame him because he was not part of the process. The last state chairman of CPC was there. It's not only AD. It's just that most of us in ACN are metamorphosed from AD to AC to ACN to APC. That's why you see the preponderance, and anybody in Ondo State knows that the senior partner in the merger in Ondo State happens to be ACN. So you will have preponderance of members of ACN in whatever is APC of Ondo State. But as part of that assessment, the structure of CPC was involved. The last state chairman of CPC was involved. The national officer of AMPP was there. Some old PDP members were there. So it's not as if it was a narrow AD thing. So his comment was based on ignorance, thinking I was just some few people. Because when you see the key actors,
Mr. Lorry, my question, Mr. Lorry, so that I'll get the answers. Yeah. My question is, did they all agree that they will subject themselves to the screening and will agree to the outcome of that screening? It's a simple question.
No. They don't. There is no need for that. We are guiding our followers. So, and it's for our followers to follow us or not to follow us. This is a voluntary and free matter. If they feel that what we have done is irrelevant, the best thing for them is just to ignore it and leave the party to decide whether they believe in what we have said or not.
I'm sure you have a response. Let him respond. What's your response?
The truth of the matter is you don't shave a man's head in his absence. If you call yourselves elders of the party, an elder is expected to act fairly, equitably, and nicely. In my local area, they say when an elder is in the market, you don't allow the head of a small child to teach this way around. He adjusts it. If these elders, whom we know had been fronting and fraternizing with the present governor, I don't know when Mr. President came to Ondo State. Mr. Ilori that is speaking was one of the persons who said, Mr. President, this is where I'm going, pointing to the governor. Now, all of a sudden, you move, and then you turn yourself to an elder. Is it Mr. E.G. who had been in the entourage of Mr. Governor? All this while, all of a sudden, all of you put yourself together. You see, you cannot be a judge in your own cause. They have been part and parcel of Mr. Governor. If they say that, no problem, nobody is questioning them. But to come out and distill themselves and come now to tell us, no, we were not there, we are just neutral, that's not true. Therefore, the qualification that he has stated, he has not been able to establish that for integrity, he was a supporter of Chief Olusola Oke in 2012 when Oke was gunning for the governorship position, and if he ran on the platform of AD at that time. But if you have moved, no problem. That if he ran on the platform of AD in 2012, then he must have been an aborigine. And therefore, if you are now going to talk about it, you should bring such a person on board to discuss, to take a decision of this nature, of this magnitude, and canonize it, and make it look like it is a universal decision that the elders of the party have spoken, when it is just a faction of a group of persons who hitherto have been fraternizing with the governor. All this while, it is, to say the least, being mischievous.
Mr. Lorry, let's come back. He has alleged that prior to this time, including yourself and other members of the Aborigines, have shown tendency that you support the governor ab initio. And isn't it a fair argument that if that is true, you've lost the moral right to make such decision on behalf of the party as an elder?
No, you see, like I've said before, this is politics. There is no iota of doubt of the fact that we love the party and we want the party to win. That's for us. We are doing what is expected of an elder. The governor is our governor. There's no issue about that. And there can be only one governor in the state at a time. And you must support your government. And it's the government of our party. So there is no issue about does he have another governor that he's supporting? Except he says he's working against the state. All of us are working for the interests of the state. So the governor is the symbol of the state and symbol of our party. So he's the highest elected person in Ondo State today. So all of us, including him that is talking, are fraternizing with the governor. So it's just a governor. Otherwise, there will be no basis for that fraternization. Now, what they are saying is that people should not hold opinion. People hold different, divergent opinion in the elders forum, among the Aborigines. You have people supporting Oke. You have people supporting Akeredolu. You have people supporting what's it called. But what we decided was that whatever we want to support, all of us must learn to come together and be able to do something that will make the party to emerge as victorious. So it's not the issue of personal interest. What we did there, which is different, was to bring all our interests together. Whereas, yes, all of us might have different preferences. We dropped all our preferences when we go to the Aborigine meeting. That we want a governor we can talk to. We don't want a governor that will see people as being somebody who is outside. As people have criticized.
Let's bring it back to this.
We know them. We are talking about people we know. So it's not just about people we don't know. We have known these people for ages. There is none of them that is just coming to the stage now. So we knew them. Without even asking, we know how they are related with the people. The core concern we have, like on education, is to say, do you have the minimum qualification? Even if you have PhD, it's not. INEC will not ask about your PhD. INEC wants to know, do you have minimum qualification?
Let's bring it back to the studio because of time. As we wind down, let's bring it back to the studio. But isn't it a fair decision when it comes to politics that the governor is given the right of first refusal? Isn't that the norm?
Well, the situation on ground differs from that. I know as of a fact that before the demise of Akeredolu, almost a year or thereabout or two, Chief Olushola Oke, I can't speak for any other person, went to Mr. Akeredolu SAN. Take note, I was once an aide to Akeredolu. I was SSA on oil and gas, that government, before I left. Went to Mr. Akeredolu to inform, sir, you will run your 4-year tenure. After the tenure, I am interested in running because I never ran against you in 2016 when you were to recontest. From that meeting, he proceeded to the then deputy governor, who is now the governor of Ondo State, to inform him that he was going to contest for the position of the governor. The then deputy governor, now governor, didn't tell him, and I speak this on national television, that, oh, my elder brother, I will also be vying. So if we're going to talk about it...
Maybe he wasn't contemplating it.
Yeah, if he was not contemplating and somebody has already informed you, then the law of first mention gives him precedent. And Chief Olushola Oke has been going. Ditto are others who have been campaigning. Therefore, we cannot subsume them. Number two, sir. While I appreciate, in a 30 seconds, while I appreciate the governor for his right to contest, we will in Ondo South be such change if the governor contests because it will only stay for 4 years. We need an 8-year tenure because...
Why do you say that?
This reason, because the law is that if you succeed your boss as a deputy, you spend the remainder of his tenure, you can only contest for 1 month term. So for us in Ondo South, Ondo Central had its own Mimiko 8 years.
Okay.
The North has had almost 12 years now. So it is now the turn of Ondo South.
We're totally out of time.
We say no to stop changing laws.
Legal practitioner, elder statesman, Dr. Benson Enokomen, and Bola Ilori, member Ondo APC Elders Group, member of the Aborigine. Thank you, gentlemen and elders, for coming on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. Good night.
to Democracy 101 in 5. I am Antolecki. On this show, you get insights into the core principles of democracy and the laws that shape our society. Democracy 101 in 5 is an initiative of Yaga Africa with the support of the FCDO. What is the procedure for impeachment? As we always do, we ask some Nigerians on the streets. Let's hear them out.
To tell the National Assembly can impeach the president, there has to be like a legal agreement, by some legislative bodies, maybe the Senate House, that we agree, people that wouldn't snitch on each other.
For the President of the Nigerian Republic to be impeached, 2/3 of the National Assembly should vote on it.
In our democratic system, accountability is not just a buzzword. It's a fundamental principle that ensures those in power remain answerable to the people they serve. But first, what is impeachment? It is the removal from office of an elected official because of gross misconduct or violation of the provisions of the Constitution. The president or vice president of the country, or the governor or deputy governor of a state can be impeached by members of the National Assembly or the State House of Assembly, respectively. Sections 143 and 188 of the 1999 Constitution provide information on the removal of the president or vice president and governor or deputy governor. Let's run through the steps outlined in the Constitution regarding the investigation and removal of these public officials for gross misconduct. Step 1. When allegations of gross misconduct